You're tuned into the Edible Activist Podcast. I am your host and favorite go-to edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. On this show, we serve up empowering narratives and fresh perspectives straight from the voices of emerging Black people and people of color in agriculture and business. And in these candid conversations, we might sprinkle in a few choice words. They're the ones stewarding the land, healing communities, and championing food justice and economic empowerment across the country. Their contributions and stories sprouted from the earth truly embody the spirit of activism in their own unique, edible ways. So let's dig in and get started. Peace and welcome. I am your host and favorite edible activist, Melissa L. Jones. I am so thrilled to have another guest in studio with me today, Wes Mahmood. He is a farmer and educator who currently works with Common Good City Farm right here in Washington, D.C. And so I'm just so excited because I get to learn more about his ag journey and his pursuits here on the show. So Wes, welcome. So excited to have you.
It's nice to be here. I'm really excited. I can't wait.
Yay. So I guess a little preface. I just met Wes. We're still kind of at the beginning of July, even though it still feels weird. It feels like it's,
But because this ag circle is so small, I feel like I've known you for so long because all of our friends know each other.
I love that. But I met Wes at, some of you all heard me talk about a kickback. I think I mentioned that on this show, that I was planning for Black folks in ag and in the food system. And so Wes was here with me at the Line, DC, back in June, where we literally kicked back and had a great time. And that was my very first introduction to Wes. And I said, Wes, why haven't I met you before?
Yeah, I really liked that event because it was, I feel like a lot of the agricultural get-togethers that you see in DC are really focused around, networking and having some type of agenda behind it. And it was just a really good time to be able to come in and just know that I was going to relax and have some drinks and just see people that I see all the time, but in a different light and environment. And it was a really great time. Can't wait for the next one.
That makes me so happy. Everyone's still talking about it to this day. But what we crack up about is that y'all wouldn't leave. Y'all wouldn't leave. And so, it was one of those light switches. You don't got to go home, but you got to get out of here, right?
Right.
And then y'all left the rooftop. And then y'all gathered inside, but then y'all just wouldn't leave from inside.
No, not at all.
So,
and then we had fun on the elevator. We had fun in the lobby. We were standing outside once they kicked us out. Man, we had a time.
I say all that to say, and I'm glad that we are reliving that. My truest intent was to curate an experience that wasn't that was not a networking event, and something that, because you're naturally going to network, right?
Exactly.
I did not want to throw those words. You get anxiety.
Yeah, exactly.
You get lots of anxiety.
And you feel like you have to be a certain way and present in a certain light. And
exactly.
I like that because it was just, no, I can just drink and chill and
Absolutely.
have a good time and eat some good food.
I'm so glad. So here we are, fast forward, because, when I meet another dope person in this space, I'm like, you want to come on my show? And he was so down. So Wes, I'm so excited to have you here. Also, I have to put out that, Wes, he just joined me a few moments ago. You're going to learn more about his role at Common Good City Farm and just other things outside of the farm as well. But I just hosted a really great group of students who have been a part of this program at Common Good City Farm. So we've had a long day, and Wes was just coming in, hosting. He was with some other of the teens as well, showing them some other spaces in DC. And so we're here. We're going to bring all our energy, but I'm so thrilled. So we love a good origin story, Wes.
Okay.
And so even though, I met you, you feel like blood. You said we feel like we known each
Yeah.
other. I'm like, who is Wes?
Yeah.
I need to get down to the nitty gritty,
Absolutely.
So just want to learn about, what brought you here to this space, and what, I know it's a loaded question.
No, it's a lot to it because, like most people in this space, I never thought that I would be here. But now that I'm here, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, in Decatur, and lived there until about 99, and that's when we moved up here. And I grew up mainly in Silver Spring, right outside DC. I did live overseas for a little bit. I lived in Trinidad and Tobago. That's where a lot of my family is from. They're all over the Caribbean, Bermuda, Jamaica, Trinidad, the Bahamas, really everywhere that they could find themselves. And I I had my grandmother had started a business in Trinidad, so my mother and I went out there to help her run it because she also had a business here in DC. She's one of the first Black businesswomen in DC to start a business, and she worked often with DC government and DC lottery and DC schools as doing promotional products. So if you ever saw logos on bags or anything for DCPS or DC government, it normally ran through her.
Wow.
My family is a long line of entrepreneurs. My grandmother's father, was the first owner of a Black hotel in Bermuda, and my mother has her own line of entrepreneurship, and I've since taken up that mantle myself. And so, I've never really had an agricultural upbringing other than when I lived in Trinidad. I would stay on my uncle's mango farm.
Okay.
And he had mangoes and coconuts, and I would help him knock things down with bamboos, or like we had a net that we'd use to shake the tree, and we had different methods of harvesting, but I never really thought about it as agriculture or farming or anything like
I was about
that.
to say, because you were thrust right on in there. I never really had any experience, but I was just on this mango farm, just knocking things down with
Yeah, it was like, my uncle was like, if you want mangoes, you got to pick them yourself. And then he realized that I was good at picking mangoes. He was like, why don't you just harvest with me when we go out? And so, after I left Trinidad, I came back to DC, and I went to Morgan State for my university years. And
out Morgan.
Shout out the HBCU. My mom would not let me go anywhere else. It was Lincoln, Morgan, or Howard. So didn't really have a choice.
You didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So my parents are both HBCU grads, and so it just seemed like the next natural path. And I had gotten a singing scholarship to go to Morgan as well. So I pretty much got a full ride, and I was just like, well, if I don't have to pay to go to college, I'm just gonna just do it. Yeah.
Yes.
So I went there for mass communications and video production. Growing up, I've had a lot of different passions and ways that I thought my career was going. When I was younger, I had gone to a magnet school for robotic engineering and aerospace technology. I wanted to be an inventor and an astronaut so bad. And then eventually I was just like, I'm good at math, but I hate doing it. I'm not doing this. And so I switched up to video production like my senior year of high school. And that's what I went to Morgan for. And then after I left Morgan, I had actually kind of left video production behind. I had tried a lot of different things. I worked for Southwest Airlines. I sold life insurance. I've done so many completely different directions of careers.
I feel like you're a cat with all these lives. Okay.
And yeah, so I eventually I got back into mass communications and video and community engagement, which was where I started at least my adult career. And I started doing it for a compost company here in DC called Compost Cab. And Compost Cab was doing all of the farmers market. That not only were they doing pickups from people's houses, but they were also doing the drop-offs at the farmers market. So if you ever saw people coming to drop off their compost at DuPont or like Columbia Heights or Eastern Market, that I was almost there every single weekend, educating people, taking compost from one site to another, working with farms, things like that. And then that just really evolved into, because I was absorbing so much information on a regular basis, just becoming that fountain of knowledge for composting. And every chance that I had, I was speaking to new farms to get them on board with composting, new restaurants. We I had helped start a grant with DSLBD, the Department of Small and Local Businesses, to get them to start composting. And so I was going around and educating a large number of local businesses on how, it would be possible to do that on their own. And so that was really my introduction into sustainability and food justice.
Okay.
I had always been thought about recycling and thought about different things, but I never was like, oh, you need to compost, Ma, what are you doing? Or anything like that. But I did, get any knowledge that I got, put me more in a sustainability mindset of,
Okay.
there's only a limited world that we live on, and no matter what, we cannot just continue to consume and expect there to be more for us. So there has to be some level of give and take. There has to be some sustainability just in the way you live and the way you move. It doesn't have to be in every single facet of your living, but it should be what you think about first when you move through the world. And I think that a lot of human beings don't really think about that, especially with the consumptive mindset that has been instilled in us in this society. But yeah, I'm not going to get too political on this podcast. But
I was about to say, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, we can, because I'm tired of this weather and this
capitalism.
climate crisis. And capitalism, consumption,
Yeah.
let's name it.
So that was my introduction to the agriculture space.
Okay. Now, question for you.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you were on the mango farm in, Trinidad? How old were you?
I was 12 years old. I was
Okay.
about 11 or 12, knocking down mangoes with bamboo shoots. Yeah.
Why do I see 12-year-old Wes in my head?
Because
with
little bald headed, I ain't had no hair on because my mom wouldn't let me wouldn't let me grow it out. And there was this bamboo shoot about the size of this room lengthwise that I would use to knock down mangoes from the trees, and it was my favorite pastime. It was what I did for lunch, what I did for a snack. It was just, I really enjoyed working with mangoes, coconuts, anything like that. And because I was a kid eating fruits for the first time, I didn't really think about it as agriculture or anything like that. I just did it.
Now, my other question is, do you recall, now at your adult age, do you recall there being any composting, regenerative, methods? And I know naturally, obviously in Trinidad, but just making that connection in your adult age and going back, oh, they were composting. Oh, they,
Let's see. When I found out about composting, I think I just started as oh, this is a way to make money. This is something that I can do really fast. And I just thought of myself as a compost collector. I didn't really think of myself as, anything like that. And with tree farming in general, you do look mulching, which has compost in it, but it's not really, you're not really turning the earth like you are with farming. So adding compost doesn't really do the same thing. You're just adding it around the base. But once I got into it here in DC, that's when I was it was eye-opening for me. I completely changed how I wanted to go. I thought I was going to be going in community engagement and communications and video production and things like that, because that was what was starting to come back up again. And then immediately food justice, food policy, sustainability, agriculture. And couldn't imagine it before, but now I'm so excited.
I remember so I didn't know what composting was until it had to have been around 2008 or no, 2009 or 2010. I was, when I was in events, I actually was partnered with a green sustainability event planner.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I would go over to her house to do work. and she had all these different buckets, and I didn't know. I'm just like, what type of? We don't do
Why
this
does
in
it
our
smell?
household. We don't do this in our black household. Like I literally, not even
Yeah.
sound like ignorant. Like
No,
it's just,
yeah,
I
it
didn't.
is though. But
Yeah,
that's what
that's
it's
what
like.
it
Why
was.
would
I
you be
said,
collecting your food in your house
well,
like
I said,
that?
so I gotta put the paper towels here and the banana peels here. No idea what composting was, just
Yeah.
being very honest. But fast forward, obviously, I'm all for it. But I
Yeah.
had no, that was my introduction to composting. Okay, so, but I just wanted to ask that question because, like, even though you said at the age of 12, when you knocking down mangoes and coconuts and everything else, like, you weren't really, like, in agriculture. I'm like, you were in the middle of it, in the jungle, baby, okay?
Yeah.
So it's just always interesting, like in your adult age, doing this work now, making those connections back
Yeah.
when you were younger.
Yeah.
So fast forward, you're now at Common Good City Farm.
Yeah, and they were actually one of the farms that I was working with heavily when I was doing compost and compost education. So that's
okay.
how we first connected, and that's how the relationship built. I first started working with them in like 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And the farm manager at the time ended up leaving, and she was like, you should be our next farm manager. We really want you here. And at the time, I was just like so scared by I was like, I don't know how to manage a farm. I don't, what? and she was like, no, I'll teach you everything you need to know. It'll be fine. Just apply and we'll handle everything. And I was just so terrified of messing up my favorite farm in all of DC that I just never went for it. I never applied, and I don't regret it now because of where I am in my life in agriculture. Now I have the capability of teaching people on that farm way more than I would have if I had just like tried to get my feet wet right then and there.
Yeah.
I've learned so much in my regenerative agriculture and hands-on agriculture in working under so many great farmers in this space that that all of the things that I have absorbed, there's no way I would have learned that kind of stuff.
Everything's divine. Everything's
Managing
divine
that,
order.
yeah, everything
Absolutely.
goes the way it's supposed to. So, after I had not turned down the offer, but after I just didn't pursue it, I stayed with Compost Cab and grew my portfolio and grew my career to where when I left, I felt like I could do whatever I wanted to do, and what I wanted to do was agriculture. And so it just really,
Them
pushed
banana
me.
peels and them eggshells and everything else got you.
Listen, I really thought it was the grossest thing in the world. I was like, I cannot believe I took 3 showers a day because I was like, the compost is still on me, the smell. And then by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I smell.
Well, they've become, way more innovative now, in terms of like.
There's a lot
plates.
better ways
'Cause
than
before it was.
we were
like,
moving open trash cans in a Penske truck. It was bad, and
And
the
y'all
door
know the
open and
rats
it's
in
right
DC
next to
do
me.
not play.
Not at all. Sometimes the cans, if we didn't strap it down tight enough, they would tip over. Then you got to pick up rich people's compost for the next 30, 40 minutes. That was my least favorite part of the job. But
Well, here you are.
I am.
So
I
you
made
are the farm educator. Is that your title?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've done the farm manager thing. I've done the and I do manage a farm in near Navy Yard called Inyame Farms.
Oh, okay.
And they're on Instagram.
Okay.
And but they I help man. It's more of like a farming collective. I do that with Kenneth and a couple other farmers in that space. Sean. And so we are coming together to try and do the same thing that we do at Common Good and and at the Well and other farms of educating and making it a space where people can see agriculture in their day-to-day lives. But when it comes to farming and on my own stuff, I only have my backyard garden that I take care of on a daily basis, and the couple high schools that I work with, their farm and gardens too.
Listen, taking care of your own backyard, that's
Listen,
enough.
with this heat this year, it's been
Exactly.
insane.
Exactly.
It's been insane.
Oh
so
my
it's been a good time. I really enjoy at least being able to get my hands dirty sometimes, if not every day.
Listen, with compost and ag and soil, you're going to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
You're going to get your hands dirty.
Definitely.
Well, I feel like I've definitely been on a journey, and I love it. You know what? And I think what is also important is, actually, I was even, talking when I did the session. So I did a food justice and media session with Common Good City Farm earlier this week.
Right.
And one of the things that I had emphasized was, there is no linear way into getting into this space, and so
everybody's path is different.
It's so
Everybody
different.
and everybody finds some way that is perfect for them that they never thought they'd be doing, but now can't imagine themselves doing it.
Exactly.
Can't imagine themselves not doing it, rather.
Exactly. What is your day to day on both so where you're currently at and the other farm that you manage? Like
Yeah,
what
so
day
my-
to day, week to week,
Yeah.
moment to moment?
Yeah, no, it really is very flex. I have to remain very flexible every single
In
week.
100-degree weather.
Oh man, it's
gosh.
been oh man.
Tuesday was awful, Wes.
Tuesday it was like 97 and 107 feel. And I was like, what?
No, they said 112. It was an index of 112.
It was the hottest in the country.
Yeah, it's
That's
very
insane.
scary. It's very, we laugh. It's very scary. I've
and
never
especially if you think that this is probably going to be summers from now on.
Nah, yeah, I am not. This is not normal.
No.
I think I said this to you. Summertime hits. We supposed to
Yep.
be outside. We're supposed to be outside. It has been depressing
Yes,
for me.
yes. Winter's always brings some level of seasonal depression for me,
Yes.
but now summer is like I can't leave my house. I can't be out enjoying myself for longer than 3.5 minutes. Otherwise, I'm eyeing and
Yeah.
melting.
Yeah. Well, let's speak to because my concern. I have an array of concerns, but I'm out on y'all's farm, right? It was that Tuesday, and I'm like, it's just too hot. It's just too hot. What does it look like for you now in this 100-degree weather? Like, have you had to adjust? What is suffering?
Yeah.
Not just you, like the crops. Like it is.
Yeah, so farm maintenance is really pulled back a lot when it's hot like this. The main thing that you focus on in the farm space in this type of weather is just making sure everything gets watered multiple times a day because they like just as hot as you are, they don't have shade to go to. Your plants don't have anywhere to go. They're just being hit by the sun constantly. So really the main thing is like setting out a sprinkler, making sure they're wet, making sure they're fine. Weeding is not happening in this type of heat. Beautification of the space, not happening in this type of heat. You can, be like, all right, I feel like I've sat in the shade for long enough. Let me go out there. And then 5 minutes later, you're back in the shade. Like, wow, this is too much. I cannot do this anymore. But it's really just about making sure everything gets watered and they get the nutrients that they need. Other than that, you're not doing too much, especially if it's like a week or two long heat wave. Yeah.
And like you said, beautification, y'all trying to curate some nice like backyards.
It is not.
Good luck, be safe. Like that is not like we don't even care what this corner look like. We just want.
Seriously.
Okay, so and today we got. Did we get enough rain today?
I think we got enough rain today.
I was
the
happy
plants.
for y'all.
Oh, it
I
was so
like
cool.
rejoicing for
Yes.
farmers because you don't want too much rain.
No,
Too much rain.
No. Too
is-
much rain and you're, flooding your crops. But
Yeah.
it was really nice. It only rained really hard for maybe like 5 minutes today. And then other than that, it's been very chill.
Yeah.
And really just covering up the sun. This sun is not, it's funny because I've lived in Trinidad. I grew up in Georgia. Like I've been in a lot of hot places, but this heat is just so draining to me. It just pulls the energy right out of me.
I ain't a farmer. I've said that several times. I think it was actually the day that I was out on the farm, which was a very hot day. And mind you, I didn't pull a crop. I was just outside, like for the little bit that I was until we did our indoor session.
Yeah.
When I tell you that heat stayed with me for the whole day,
It really
I swear at
does.
9:56, I was out. Like, don't even remember falling asleep.
Yes.
I was so
And you could be
tired.
inside in front of the AC and it's
concerning. It's concerning.
absolutely.
So
So on a day to day,
Yeah.
because of the heat, it does have to, have to remain very flexible. But
Yeah.
a lot of my time is spent with kids and adult classes, doing teaching them in the ways that you've seen, taking them on tours and field trips and taking them through workshops. We're doing an irrigation workshop right now, and we did a seedling workshop this last week. So most of my day to day is working with high school students during the summertime. I'm actually the main high school that I work with is McKinley Tech.
Okay.
And then right now I'm cultivating a relationship with Roosevelt High School to
Nice.
get their students. They want me to teach agriculture classes, and I'll do it one day a week. I'll do it one day a week. They're like, all day? I'm like, two classes? Two classes? No, but I really want, the reason why I do this, and I haven't yet said this, I think that people having access to grow their own food is not only something that is obviously a sustainable practice, but it's something that a lot of underserved people in this community don't even think about as an option for themselves, but could bridge the gap between them not eating and their entire community having food for the entire season, just based off of, oh, I planted some peas in my backyard and some okra, and now everybody's good. Or I got some sweet potatoes growing in the back that I've been eating the leaves off of all summer in my salads and my stews, and now I got a sweet potato that I can make yams for everybody at the function, or whatever it is. There's a lot of different ways that people can apply agriculture in just a very small way that they don't even think about. People are like, oh, I don't even have a balcony. It's like, you can grow on your windowsill. Like, if you don't have a windowsill, you need to move, because
Get out of there.
what's happening? But yeah, I love exposing people to ways of living that they wouldn't otherwise think of. And I think that just by doing that, it gives them the opportunity to see what's possible in their lives and in their communities' lives.
I love that. That's so beautiful. I also just feel like it's appropriate to call you the Compost King, too.
That's so funny because so many people call me that, and it's like,
I wasn't far off at all.
it's like, I don't know a lot of people that know much more about composting. I know, like, there's somebody I actually used to work with at Compost Cabin, and she now has her own business, and somebody that, composting is consistent, just like agriculture. You're always learning, and so she owns a business, Sustain Date. I don't know if you're familiar. Najwa.
Yes.
Najwa's
Yes.
awesome.
Yep.
Najwa is, if you ever have compost questions, if she doesn't have the answer right in your face, she will have it for you. Either the next time you see her or during that conversation.
She's gonna get back to you.
Right, she'll get back to you. She's just always been a fountain of knowledge with that, and always makes it, just like I have tried to be with agriculture, always tries to make it fun and accessible and attainable for people who just wouldn't otherwise think about it.
What are some do's and don'ts around composting? Because I feel like, if it does not say, because I have I just being in the space, like, I have general knowledge of like what is composted, but sometimes it helps to have like a list of things,
Oh, yeah.
And also, like, for some people, composting, they're just thinking like, plant-based like scraps and stuff. But when I don't eat meat, but like, I do want to, just for everybody, like, what are some do's and don'ts?
So if you think about what composting is, it's the decomposition of organic matter. So what does that mean? It's literally just anything that comes from the earth goes back to the earth.
Right.
If you have fruits, vegetables, bread, paper products, eggs, meat, like bones, carcasses, everything organic eventually decomposes and eventually composts. It's really, what composting is making it, is being very intentional about that decomposition and making it into a soil that's nutrient dense for you to be able to grow food out of. So the do's, I would say, are, if literally everything food-wise. Because if you think about what composting is, it's decomposing. Our body composts food when you digest it. So if your body can digest it, that's
Yeah.
compostable.
Yeah.
So meat, compostable. Eggs. I don't like putting whole eggs in my compost because when they break, they make the entire farm smell like rotten eggs.
Ew.
But that's the only reason why I don't. I do eggshells.
Eggshells, yes.
Eggshells are fine.
I would hope that people aren't putting the whole. I'm sure you have seen some things.
You would be surprised. There's this one person that came to me with compost one time, and it was like, it was like the end of the season, or no, it was the beginning of the season at this market in Northeast. And I was like, hey, they came with 2 rolling carts filled with 5-gallon buckets of compost. And I was like, I don't know if I have enough space for all that. And they were like, oh, we've been waiting for you for 3 months. And I was like, wait.
For
You've been
could have made
holding
some
on to your
soil.
food in buckets for 3 months? And they were like, yeah. And they opened it, and it was...
I can only imagine.
They had writhing maggots in and out of it. I was just like, you might as well just throw this away at this point. Like, this isn't healthy composting. This is just gross. This is nasty. And then they went back home and brought back another cart filled with compost. And that was definitely my worst composting experience. But
Yeah.
even then, that stuff still got composted.
If you are that person, please do not invite me over for dinner. Thanks and bye.
You know who you are.
I'm being serious though. Because where are you keeping that?
Oh my gosh. I was so
gross. Okay, I do
yeah,
want to
I
be
was so put
facetious
off.
for just a moment because
No,
you
yeah,
did
go ahead.
say, organic matter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, what about fake organic?
What do you mean by that? Oh, you're saying like
People who
if
say
it's
that they're
GMO?
organic and they're yes, exactly,
That's
exactly,
fine.
exactly.
So what you
exactly.
put into your compost is what you're going to get out of it. So if you put high nutrient dense stuff or stuff that's real into your compost, you're going to get real nutrients back. You're not going to if you put like a pepper that came from the grocery store that doesn't have a lot of nutrients anymore, it's been sprayed with a ton of pesticides and things like that. That stuff is going to get into your compost, but the way that the compost turns it, the way that the food scraps turn themselves into compost, all of that is kind of a moot point almost.
Okay.
It does make it not as quality
Right,
compost,
right,
but it's not gonna make your compost not usable anymore.
Okay.
I say organic because anything like skin, like any,
Yeah. I gotcha. Okay, so if you have put something in your compost that wasn't organic or you thought it was, don't feel bad, and I'm not gonna feel bad either. So
and a lot of people think that you can't put cooked food in compost because you're not supposed to put oils in compost. You should never dump oil in your compost.
Yeah.
It will not compost. But if you cook your food in cook your food in oil, you can absolutely. The majority of my compost is cooked food.
Okay.
So you really don't have to worry about that unless you're like drenching it in oil, like deep frying it or something like that.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're
so
fine.
no fried green tomatoes in there.
It's funny
Well, I'm
because
not gonna toss any anyway because they're
right.
gone.
I eat them. I was gonna say I eat them all already. So I have never had leftover fried green tomatoes. So, but yeah.
That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that because you know what? I don't know from memory that we've actually had an intentional conversation around composting, and it's so important. And obviously, I know a lot of farmers who use compost.
Oh, every farmer that you know, every farmer that you know, even even the big farmers, they use compost because it's the best way to get nutrients back into your soil. You can grow food straight out of it. You don't need any other medium.
Absolutely, and it's a great way to do something with your scraps as well.
It's a it recycles. Our biggest issue with waste is that when food mixes with metal, mixes with paper, mixes with all these stuff, we create greenhouse gases, and there's a lot of landfills that are just piling up, and the food never breaks down because it's mixed in with metal. Metal doesn't compost, glass doesn't compost, and that's just a couple of the artificial things. The term biodegradable, I don't know if you're familiar with greenwashing, but greenwashing is just when you when a company or a corporation or business in general comes up with something that sounds really like a green alternative and
They lie.
sounds
That's
great,
what it is. They
but in
lie.
actuality, it's terrible. The term biodegradable means that it'll degrade in the next 1,000 years. So anything that's biodegradable is not actually, it's not like, it's like, oh yeah, so you're saying it'll degrade in the next 1,000 years instead of never? Like, okay. Whereas compost, you can get compost done in weeks,
exactly,
a month.
exactly,
Like, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about some other possible like food justice initiatives that you're a part of. You did mention the farm that you helped to manage collectively out
In Navy Yard.
in Navy Yard. Speak more to
Navy
that
Yard
because I wasn't
waterfront.
aware.
In Yama, that was
love
a
that name.
project that they asked me to be a part of because they knew that I had strong skills in composting, community engagement, and agriculture, and so it was just a way for everybody to use the skills that were best for them, that they best exude, and putting them out into the community and getting people involved. It's very similar to what I did at the well, and similar to what I do in my, I don't want to say free time, but on the side at Common Good, even though my main focus is farm education, community engagement is very important to me. And I really think that it's sad that people don't really know about Common Good unless they stumble upon it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And it's right next to Howard University. We rarely have Howard students come. It's in the middle of a neighborhood that they don't even see us. They just see a park. So I'm really interested in getting more eyes on Common Good. In that way, I feel like only people who are interested in urban ag even know that they exist.
Yeah. Well, y'all are in the cut.
Yeah, we are in the cut. It's
That
funny
was the
because I
first
used to
time
live in that neighborhood.
But I've been knowing about Common Good for a very long time. That was just the
Yeah.
first time. Beautiful space.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
It is. It is my favorite agriculture space in DC. There's just so much in such a small area.
It's so small, but it's so abundant.
Yes, there's an orchard, there's bees, there's countless rows and fields, there's a greenhouse, pavilion, there's a little bit of everything. We always host
I walked
events.
in like, whoa. I love something that's small but mighty.
Exactly. And
Small
that
but
is
mighty
that
space.
is definitely what it is. Small footprint, huge impact.
I love that. I love that. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say that you asked about some of the other food justice stuff that I'm involved in. I'm currently, it's not solidified yet because I'm still in the process of getting my 501c3, but I'm trying to
501c3.
I'm trying to start a nonprofit that focuses.
You are starting a
That's what people
nonprofit.
keep telling me. I gotta stop saying trying.
You have to. I'm learning too.
Yes.
So we're learning together.
I am starting a nonprofit.
You are launching a nonprofit
that is focused on serving underserved communities and rehabilitating maybe unhoused people or young at-risk people, and really giving them therapy or skills or workshops or just different ways to reacclimate them into society in whatever makes sense, in whatever way makes sense for them, giving them a place to stay and clean themselves and everything, just like pretty much like a self-sufficient apartment building for unhoused or at-risk people that teaches them agricultural skills, teaches them sustainability, it has composting and roof agriculture in the infrastructure to be able to point to say, and have weekly markets and have community there that they can rely on, and also obviously therapy to be able to reacclimate themselves in society in whichever way makes sense for them. That's my goal of my lifetime, what I want to do by the end of it. But I honestly feels like I'm closer to that than I was even just a year ago. So
that is so congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it's happening.
It is. It's still in the early stages, but it is. I am doing that.
That is so great. Like, please shout out whatever resources or assistance you might need.
Definitely.
We want to be able to support. Wes, in your opinion, what are some of the most effective methods that you found for empowering individuals to grow their own food?
Absolutely. The biggest one is exposing them to new things. When people there is so much wonder in this world that so many people don't even have access to. There's so much wonder that is available to people if they just knew it existed. And giving people that access is something that's why I do this. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because when you give people opportunities to see things that they wouldn't before, they may become the person they were meant to be this entire time. And because you open their eyes up to that possibility. And that, to me, when just seeing things, you can't tell somebody, hey, you got to do this, hey, this is what's going to make you money, or this is what's going to make you satisfied. You have to show people, like, this is what works for some people, this is what is satisfying for others, and they make their own decisions, and just giving them the opportunities to see better things than they're used to seeing, better situations than they're used to being in.
No, I love that so much, because even with the brief time that I've had to spend with the students, part of this, the entrepreneurship program, and having them in studio today, some of them just spoke to, like, the newness and just being open. And at first they were just like, I wasn't interested, and now I am.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just this flower that's like blossom, like that continues to
And
blossom.
imagine at what point would they have ever gotten that
Right.
experience?
And they said that.
Yeah.
They were like, they said that. And I
Yeah.
think that's so incredible.
Absolutely.
That is so incredible.
That is definitely one of the most impactful ways.
Yes. And then giving them and it's like, you don't have to like a thing.
Yeah.
Just expose them to something.
Exactly. Just know that it exists.
Yeah.
To be able to be like, oh, that's a thing that, I mean, maybe I don't like it too much,
Right.
but I know somebody that would, or
Absolutely.
anything like that.
Absolutely. So when are you going to start your T-shirt line called the Compost King?
The Compost King. I guess I got to talk to you about that, huh? That Compost King ex edible activist.
I'm all here for it. And one thing that I love to suggest a tagline for a T-shirt. I do it on a lot of shows naturally.
Oh, I know. Compost King is a good one. I like that one.
I'm just saying.
Do I have to make it CC or KK, or like, what's Compost King,
Ooh.
Is it just CK?
Ooh.
I feel like you gotta, you know what I mean?
Ooh, okay, I see where you're going with this. Listen.
Maybe KK, Compost King?
I'm down for a KK. I am so down for a KK. Wes, it's been a joy to speak with you. I don't know if there are any other just perspectives that you want to lean in, and being in this space, as a Black person cultivating the land. You took us from, your upbringing or your experience in Trinidad. You lived all sorts of different lives and hopping in different, career opportunities. You landed in composting.
Yeah.
You're now with, 2 farms, one where you're at mostly full time, and then working collectively with other farmers.
Yeah.
So just any, I don't know, just not necessarily words of wisdom, but just things that you've been able to just lean into, or things that you've just walked away from in your current experiences of being in this space, being Black and in this space, and cultivating the land, and teaching people new things to empower themselves to grow their own food, or just advocate for themselves,
Yeah.
in different ways. So just really curious if you want to leave us with,
The biggest thing I would say, and this doesn't just go for agriculture, this goes for life, is even in the hardest of times, you got to stay resilient. There's a lot of adversity, and a lot of, even if it's not intentional, there are a lot of people and organizations and systems that are put in place to put you down and put us down collectively. And we as a people have learned how to remain resilient, but you, for yourself and your emotions and who you are, and if you are trying to protect who you are, you don't want, to let other people take you outside of yourself. You have to remain resilient. You have to be in a place where you understand who you are accepting of who you are and your faults and your greatness. And anything that anybody else says outside of that, what you can and can't let affect you.
Yeah.
You know what's true and what's not, and you can just be like, somebody's just hating. That person is not
Yeah.
like they're not in a good headspace.
Yeah.
They're not
That part. Just
they're
remind
not
yourself of that.
Exactly. You gotta always keep the mindset of I know who I am. I'm comfortable with who I am. I know that who I am might not be perfect, might not be the best person I'll ever be, but I know that I'm constantly working on who I want to be. I'm constantly trying to get to where I want to be. I'm constantly doing the things that I want to do to get me to a place where I am comfortable, fulfilled, and, happy.
I love that.
I love being with community. I love being with family. I love being with friends.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just for me, that's
It is the
having a community.
I'm resilient, but it is the don't pull me outside of myself that I'm still just working on. Because y'all be reaching.
Yeah.
That is the part I'm still working
Yeah.
on. And shout out to my therapist because she has to reinforce those same reminders of like who you are.
Exactly.
They just ain't right in the head,
Yeah,
and just
exactly.
constantly reminding yourself.
They're
of that.
trying to mess you up so that they feel more comfortable about themselves.
Yes.
And you can never let them do that. And the best retaliation to that is being your true self.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they know that they affected you. They know they got you outside yourself, and then they know that they can do it again. But when
Yeah.
they see that they don't affect you, they leave you alone. They let you do you to where you can be your best self.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they won't leave you alone, and that's when I'm just like, ooh. Wes, what is this? This is our finale question. I'm actually switching this up. Okay. Yes, exactly. Clear your voice. 'Cause you might need to follow this up with a hymn too, because you said you sing.
Uh-oh.
Okay. In this current season right now, would top your favorite or top vegetable and or fruit right now? It's always a hard question, but just one.
So here's the thing.
Okay,
Normally, I would say something like exotic that I had never come across before or seen before. Like last season, it was orange watermelon. I had never seen I'd seen yellow watermelon, I'd seen red watermelon, but I had never seen orange watermelon. This year in general, it's just watermelon.
I love it.
This heat has made it so
real.
long that I should have been eating watermelon.
For real.
Juneteenth was a month ago, and I still don't have watermelon in my
real.
lungs.
For real.
In my veins.
Yo.
But I will very soon be the watermelon pusher on the side.
Yes,
If y'all need
your
some of that
watermelon
seeded
pusher.
watermelon.
Absolutely. Always.
I'll be grilling watermelon this summer. I'll be doing different types of watermelon stuffs. Working with Black and Forth, working with Dreaming Out Loud, working with a couple different organizations
Okay.
to be able to offer
Yum.
watermelon teaching lessons. There's so much about watermelon that people are just like, oh, that's just Black food. Oh, I don't want to eat
Right.
that because that's a
Right.
stereotype. Or
Right.
there's so much greatness about watermelon that I'm really excited for. And the Watermelon Festival that's going to be coming up in the fall. Can't wait for that one. So it's definitely just going to be general watermelon because I haven't had one yet.
I know. What about a vegetable?
A vegetable. So purple okra.
Ooh.
Purple okra. I just got some from Common Good City Farm.
Ooh,
Ding.
okra me any day. Okra me. I don't care what color it is.
It was
Red okra,
so good.
purple.
So good. And I got some growing in my backyard, and I'm harvesting it as soon as I get home.
I asked the kids when I saw them. I told them we did it as icebreaker. I told them to write down like their favorite fruit or vegetable, and I loved it because I wanted them to just see the diversity there, and that it's
Yeah.
important, to that diversity of fruits and vegetables are important, especially different cultures. When we're talking about food justice and access, like that's important. And I said mine obviously is okra, and then of course I got some. I don't like okra. And
It's
I was
too
like,
slimy.
It's too slimy. I said I eat okra boiled. I said I'll eat it just right off the plant raw.
Yup.
They were like off the plant. But then just going back to you saying introducing something new, I said who would be open to just eating okra off the plant? And I had about 4 or 5,
Yeah.
the kids raised their hand. I said, listen, You just said you would be open to it. I didn't say you had to like it.
The disconnect between kids, people in general, and the food that they eat is so immense to me. The fact that people have never seen a tomato on a vine, have never seen okra on a stalk, have never seen corn growing in a field, have never seen squash coming out of the ground, have never seen an apple on a tree, have never seen any of the fruits or vegetables that they're used to seeing ever growing. They just know it exists in a grocery store, and then they eat it, and then it exists in a grocery store, and then they eat it. They don't even think about it as a thing that they can themselves have an active part in bringing into this world.
So true. So true. So true. Wes, I don't know. I feel like I need you to sing us out of this episode. I put you on the spot. You don't have to sing. But when you told me you were a singer, I'm just like,
Oh,
I love this.
Do da da do 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 ooh ah ooh ah ooh ooh ah. The very first time that I'm not gonna do the whole thing.
I'm over here about to clear my throat and tune on in, and I can't sing a lick at all. Okay, Wes, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for all of your great energy.
Thank you for having me. It's been a really great time, and I know I'll be back soon at some point.
You absolutely will,
so
and you'll be back here. Another kickback. Working on that, y'all.
The Compost King and edible activist.
Exactly. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Be safe out there, y'all. Peace. Thanks for tuning in. You can catch today's episode on iTunes, Spotify, and Simplecast. And be sure to follow us at Food Talks in Color. That's just the letter N on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.